Hello to all the viewers of Out of This Binary. It's Timmie here on a Saturday evening, and for this fluffy week, I wanted to talk about advocacy and some fears that I had to overcome in order to be an advocate. So even though I'm talking about my own fears from a personal perspective, I hope that through this video, anyone that's interested in becoming more active or more of an advocate can maybe recognize some of the similar fears inside of themselves and can see that it is possible to overcome them. So I know that on the intro video I made to this channel, I talked a little bit about myself and some of the work I do, and I guess I just want to go in a little bit more detail about my story and some of my advocacy thus far. So my story, I'm someone that has experienced gender dysphoria all of my life, and gender dysphoria was really further amplified for me by living in a small conservative hometown, living in a Catholic Republican family that basically didn't approve of queer folks at all. And yes, my gender dysphoria has gotten bad where I've reached points in my life where I was actually very much considering that I needed HRT and gender affirming surgeries to have a fulfilling life. But in my lifetime, music has been with me. It's always been with me ever since I was 5 years old, when I was a child, you know. And because of music's personal effect on me, it taught me how to love my body as it is already. Like, music is the reason I don't ever see myself pursuing HRT or gender affirming surgeries. And this is because not only music's internal workings on me, but also the communities of compassion and empathy that I've always found in music circles. So that's basically my story, and it's something, while I'm on this channel, I would love to dive into more and get into more details about that, but that's really the perspective and angle that I'm coming from, just as a non-binary and genderqueer person. So a bit of specific things I've done that makes me an advocate. So I first started out by publishing to my gender and sexuality magazine on campus called Wetlands, and a lot of it had to do with my music identity tied into my gender identity. And I wrote articles, but I also did a photography project as well. And a lot of what I was working and writing about um, was about pop music, music composition, and music performance, music education, just all music related, basically. So that was my first step into advocacy, was just doing this on my campus, and it's grown incrementally since then. I have presented at WMEA chapters, which is Washington Music Educator Association. I presented on my campus, Puget Sound. I've also presented at Pacific Lutheran University, which is also in the Tacoma area. And I've also done this presentation for my Queer Alliance on my campus. And I am a volunteer at Oasis Youth Center, which is a queer youth center for youth ages 13 to 23 that's about community outreach and leadership development. I'm a queer leader there, and I was cabin leader for an event they had, which was a camping trip called Queer Youth Summit, where it was really focused in on leadership development and community building. And one of the highlights of that trip was that Miss Major Griffin Gracie was able to attend, and we got to see her documentary and then have an open discussion session with her after watching her documentary. And it was an amazing experience, let's just say. And I've been published. I had an interview with a few other trans people in the Tacoma area. We had an article published to the News Tribune with our responses in the interview about the third gender option that is coming to Washington State on birth certificates. I know that they had a court hearing of this, I think, like about a week ago, so fingers crossed that that happens. Um, so, yeah. Oh, and as part of my WMEA project, I've also done a statewide research project that has to deal with gender. It's specifically about traditional gender binary traits, learning development, and socialization. And so some of my other goals and upcoming works for my advocacy, my WMEA presentation, I'm hoping to present that at what's called a Friday Forum at Oasis Youth Center. I'm hoping to present this to the Central Washington University Collegiate Chapter, which is it's a very big music school in the state of Washington. I think it's all the way in Ellensburg. Um, and the end goal of this presentation is to submit it to WMEA State Conference or NAFME Northwest Regional Conference. And NAFME is National Foundation for Music Educators. Sorry, National Foundation Music Educators. I'm a little tired today. And other very long term goals. I've considered writing a book before. I don't know if I could possibly do like a children's book to start with, or I could do like a short memoir or novel or just biography about myself. It is something I've considered before, and I've also considered after getting my degree submitting a lot of the talking points in my WME presentation to TED Talks and trying to get a presentation through there. So yeah, a lot of what I'm doing and hoping to keep doing might sound, pretty ambitious. I'm a very ambitious person, but I would like to say that I still feel like I'm very much in the beginning phases with being an advocate. There's still so much work that I have to do and just keep incrementally building. Um, it's been great across this past like year. It's been great just really seeing this build up across the year, and I just hope it keeps moving in a forward direction. But it didn't always used to be this easy. There were a lot of fears that I had surrounding just becoming an advocate and having my voice heard. So, some of my fears, I had a lot of family disapproval and refusal to support me. I know that was like basically the backdrop of me coming out as trans is that my family would make a big fuss about it. When I was first coming out as trans, I didn't tell them right away. Um, and so that was a big fear of mine. And other fears, I guess, just all the negative stereotyping that people had around social justice warriors. I feel like a lot of people viewed social justice warriors as oversensitive, politically correct babies, and they needed to like toughen up. Um, I had a lot of associations with social justice warriors, ranting a lot on social media, and everybody looking down upon them for doing that. Um, I had a lot of fears about if I were to share my story. I feel like it would be overshadowing other people's trans narratives that need to be heard more than my voice. And I had a lot of worries about this creating divisions instead of unity, as I feel like I come through a lot of places of privilege, even with my trans identity. Um, I had a lot of fears about making mistakes and being imperfect in activism. And I also felt that it was impossible to be professional while advocating for gender identity, an identity that is very highly personal. So I had a lot of fears surrounding that as well. So, yep, those were my fears, and I basically have worked to overcome them, and I still feel like I'm in a big process of trying to overcome them. But with all these fears, I would like to express just like some of the thoughts that I had with working to overcome them. Um, so, about family and lack of support, the thing is, I had been patient all my life with my family in regards to queer identity. I remember coming out as a gay man at first around my sophomore year. Um, and being told I was being prayed for and having put up with so many antics from my mom, and it was just really sad and pathetic, but also very much distracting me from my personal and professional life in school. um, and I don't know, I knew that it would be the same fuss and the same show with my parents like coming out as trans, and it was my senior year when I was discovering this, and I felt like I don't care right now, like I'm in kind of a late period in my life, almost completing college, and I want to be out and proud, and I want to be an advocate. Um, and the thing is, like, um, I notice like activists, especially trans activists, do it because their life lacks meaning without being an advocate. It brings them so much meaning and fulfillment in their life. And even just through like some of the advocates that I've had the privilege of meeting, such as like Alok vaid-menon, they did a poetry show on my campus, and Miss Major Griffin Gracie. through the Oasis Youth Summit. Um, like I just notice like their extreme passion and dedication behind it, and I can almost just frame it like with me. Like I felt like I had no choice but to become an advocate. Like it felt like a huge calling for me, you know. Um, so that that was pretty much my response to just like dealing with unsupportive family. Is just like I had to do this for myself, you know. And about overcoming some of the fears with, you know, stereotyping, especially around SJW stereotyping. Um, People thinking we're overly sensitive, politically correct babies needing to toughen up. I just would just like to remind you all that Stonewall was a riot. And if I didn't have the safety now, um, put me back in time when Stonewall was happening, I'd probably be involved with that protest, which was tough and real and bold. And what was happening there was revolutionary, you know? So, no, we are not politically correct crybabies. We are just being human and are part of this great legacy, you know, of revolutions. And then as far as worrying about like ranting on social media, yes, I ended up ranting on social media when I was first becoming an advocate. And I don't think that was the smartest way to go, but I also felt like it was a necessary part of my process. Um, and posting on social media, I would like to note that it doesn't make you an advocate, but it does provide you some visibility. And you can connect with people through there, you know. And my parents did end up finding out I was trans through social media, and this led to like a decline with my relationship with them. Um, but I remember specifically beating myself up for being open online. But I remember I did a post where I openly said like, this relationship is ending right now. It's either going to be permanent or a temporary end. And I just openly posted about it, and it might have been foolish of me, you know. But then I remember specifically having like 15 to 20 friends messaging me, and I remember to make sure I was okay, you know. And these were friends like all over the place in my lifetime, from like music camps I've been um, to um, to kids like at other colleges, friends from my hometown, you know. So it wasn't a smart move, but I felt like I got a lot of support from it, you know. And then for some of my fears about my story overshadowing others and creating divisions instead of unity, um, I just suggest that just continue to listen to others, you know, and be very sensitive and aware with making your work as intersectional as possible. And it is possible to do, you know. And you will make mistakes as an advocate and as an activist, but don't guilt yourself over it. Just like learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward. And having your voice heard, you know, you can really inspire others and allow others to be themselves through your voice, even in moments where you feel like your voice is flawed, like for the time being, like with like what you're trying to state, you know. It can still have the ability to inspire others, you know. um, and oh yeah, sorry, I'm going on my phone right now. And then just concerns about the impossibility to be professional while advocating for gender identity because it's too personal. I would like to say my advocacy started off as being radically personal, but I felt lucky in that I've been, you know, starting with local communities, spaces where I felt like I could be radically personal at first. But then, like, through this personal introspection, I felt like I've been very able to reflect on how to um, take a lot of what I learned personally into my professional life with, you know, my teaching and my pedagogy, you know. Um, so it is possible. It is possible to like be an advocate and still be professional in the field. Yep, that's all I have to say on that subject. I felt like this video ended up being really rambly, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, that's a little bit more about myself and my advocacy and fears I had to overcome. So, in the description for this video, I've put a couple links. I put one from my packet for my WMEA project. It's some of my submissions to the magazine on campus called Wetlands, the gender and sexuality magazine. Um, there's also one school essay that's under there that's based around a pop music song. And the other link is a story I just submitted today towards Transform Washington. So I hope wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely evening. This is Timmie for Atlas Binary. Bye.